Good evening, hello, and welcome to the Student Hub Live Refreshers Orientation event. Now here we've got a lot of policemen in the chat this evening. HJ, what's everyone been talking about? HJ? Look, I appreciate that the power naps were good, but we have had 3 hours off air now, so
no.
you're going to need to get up to speed with everything.
Okay, so, Sheila's joined us.
Oh, good.
Great, that's people excited for this session. Okay, sorry. I didn't mean for it to turn into 3 hours. That tends to happen sometimes, but...
Now, HJ, there's some new people who've just joined us this evening, because some people have jobs to do that means that they can't join these events in the day. So I think we should just tell them briefly what all this madness is about. So this is a live online interactive event, and what makes it really special is that you guys can chat to each other, put questions. We'll pretty much try and answer any question you've got, although we have categorically discovered that biscuits are not good for studying in more than one or two quantities. So so we'll try and answer any questions that you've got in the chat. Now you'll also see a lot of widgets, and these are like interactive tools that you can click on. So you'll see there's a map, there's a thing saying which level are you studying, which subject are you studying, how are you feeling right now. You can select what applies to you most, or if it's one of these word cloud things with 3 boxes, you need to put something in each box. Now if you can only think of 1 or 2, just chuck a full stop in the others, and then your results will submit. Now, when you do those, you'll also see what everyone else is talking about at home. So it's a nice way to sort of keep track of who's out there in real time watching live. Now, not everyone can, because some people have got other things to do, and the catch-up is available shortly after the event, and we've also got a packed programme of things in store for you tomorrow as well. So engage with as much as you can, check out the sessions that apply to you the most, and we hope that you have a lot of fun in this chat. Now, in all seriousness, HJ does a sterling job in the chat, and he's learnt today about the importance of eating bananas and having power naps when studying, and about making the most use of your stationery. So we have been doing some very sensible things in our time today. HJ, what is the one thing you're going to pick up and do differently in this year's academic year?
I think from all the tips, I think it's being careful with my eating, because I think from that sports session, I think we picked up on how important it is for study, the way we think and how we concentrate. And I think that's one thing I really want to work on this year. But I've had lots of other tips as well about using note cards and using all the time you can to study. And I've put them on my fantastic board here, and people have been sending how they've been studying. So lots of cashew nuts, and some selfies as well, which is really great to see. So if you want to send me some tips which will help me in this academic year, send them to our Twitter @StudentHubLive or our email studenthub@open.ac.uk, and I'd love to see them. But I also felt a bit lonely from earlier, so I've got Sophie joining me. I'm not sure how much help she's going to be on the chat desk, but anything and everything goes in the chat, and our guests always love to see you as well. So if you're new, as we've said, just pop along and say hello and let us know what you're studying, and welcome back to everyone who we saw this morning at the other events as well.
Sophie needs some snacks. She's looking a bit stationary, HJ. You'll notice I've put lots of Brazil nuts and bananas and there's some healthy options on your desk for you to choose from.
Perhaps.
And I've taken away all the Coca-Colas.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Well, let's see how we get through tonight's programme with you on healthy snacks. We've got studying with additional needs. We're going to talk about the open programme and flexibility, a key benefit of OU study. We're then going to talk a bit about Ambitious Futures, which is a graduate scheme, really exciting stuff. And then we're going to have a religious studies discussion, which probably won't have much to do with religion. And then we're going to do some computer work. So we've got some quick fixes for you. So that's a key session if you're new to computing. And this is just going to give you some quick hacks that may make life a little bit easier for you when you're studying with your computer. So, in our first session, I'm delighted to be joined by Sheila Cameron.
Hi.
Hello, Sheila. Now, Sheila is the chair of the Disabled Students Group, and we've often had these sessions at the Student Hub Live, and we love them because they're a really great place to be able to share lots of stuff in the chat. Now, please do that, and feel free to do that. We will read out what's relevant, but equally, you may want to chat among yourselves. And I know that you've got some colleagues in the chat also, haven't you, Sheila?
Yes, several of the DSG committees in the chat.
Brilliant.
So hopefully they'll be able to give some answers as well.
Fantastic. Now, for people who haven't heard about the DSG, what are they?
We are the Disabled Students Group, about 17% of the whole of the Open University, which is a good sized group. And we support any student with any additional need, whether it's an additional need that people can see or whether it's a hidden need at all. And we're really student supporting students.
So it's really the voice of students with whatever disability they may feel. And why is it important that there is a place for such a voice?
Well, at one time, when I used to study, any additional needs had to be added on. Whereas now, everything's embedded into the new module. So if you're doing a new module, you'll find that an awful lot of things have been embedded in, and it's not as hard then because you get PDFs and all different things that's there so that you can either take it, print it off, you can read it, you can listen to it. So whatever your need is, they will find a workaround for you.
And it's one of these things where there are so many different complexities depending on what disability there is, whether it's something that's seen or unseen. The Open University work very hard to try and accommodate as many of those as possible, whether, as you say, there are things like PDFs and various sorts of tools, or things like building and caring for yourself during your studies. But the Open University don't know about some of those things unless students tell them, and so this is why it's really important to have a voice and to be able to feed in to the Open University so that these adjustments can be included.
Yeah. The committee feeds directly to the association and to the Open University. We do lots of trials. I was doing one today with a computer-style robot while I was down. It was very interesting and it's really in its infancy, but it shows that the university isn't stopping at what they're at the moment. They're always moving forward to make sure that everybody gets the interaction that they need. Whereas you might look at a picture and I might need to somehow through my computer feel that picture or feel that thing. So they're always moving forward and they're trying to continue on.
Now, you're providing a platform to disabled students to interact with every part of the world, all of the time. And your Facebook group is a very vibrant community. Sometimes, you know, in the middle of the night, we know OU students study at very different times of the day, etc. Having that connection to people can feel really important. Can you share with us, just briefly, some of the interactions that happen in that space and why that time, that sort of point of being accessible to people, whatever time of day, really can help?
Well, you might live in India and you're putting a comment on at 4 o'clock in the morning, but that's during the day to you. Whereas we try to be there as long as possible, the 24/7, 365 days a week. Not everybody celebrates their holidays at the same time. So to some people, what's a holiday in our country isn't a holiday elsewhere. Then you get crisis. You might waking up during the night and think, oh, I forgot this and I should be doing that. And just someone at the other end saying, take a breath, just take your time. Tomorrow morning or during the night, send an email to your tutor or send an email to your student support team. That can just be enough to give that person a chance to think, right, I'll go back to sleep. The next morning, it might not even feel so bad that they don't need to do it. But if they do need to do it, in the back of their mind saying, right, I'm going to do it because somebody else agrees with me.
Mm. Sheila, we asked people at home whether they considered themselves disabled, and there were 3 options. There was yes, no, and don't know. Should we see what they said?
Yes, please.
So 60% of students said yes, 27% said no, and 13% said don't know. Mm. What a very interesting response. And one would expect there to be a higher proportion of students engaging with this session because of the content. But the don't know is very, very interesting. What is considered then a disability?
Well, that's an interesting word in its own right, isn't it? I'm sitting here in a chair. And when I first joined the OU, I didn't consider myself disabled. And you might look at me and say, of course you are. But I looked at it as a full-time job, a management job, and I could get about. Why would I class myself as disabled? Someone else might have a hidden disability. They could be dyslexic. They could be that if they sit at a desk, they get fatigued. Nobody's going to see that. A hearing loss. I have severe hearing problems, but nobody's going to see that. So there's lots of ways, and I can understand the 13% that said they didn't know, because I would have answered no or I don't know. But through this journey, a study, I now realise, yes, I do have additional needs, but I would actually maybe possibly still answer no.
I'd like to take a look at the profile, which I know is a little bit further down our list, but people have been filling this in, Sheila, and so I'd like to touch on that before I talk about experiences as disabled students, because again, we're seeing a very similar picture emerge. So let's see what people said when we said, have you completed your profile? 63% said yes. So bearing in mind, we're on the 60% of people who had said that they were considering themselves disabled, and 25% say don't know, so a much higher proportion of people not quite knowing here. So could you tell us what this profile thing is? Because again, it's hard to know if you fit into a category, because if students don't know what a profile is, how are they expected to know whether they've completed one? But before we talk about that, maybe you could explain why it is so important to have a profile and what it is.
Right. It's like everything else. The Open University call it a profile. Somebody else might call it a bibliography of what your do's and your don'ts. It just depends. I didn't know what a profile was, and I hadn't filled it out for a year and a half. Right? Didn't even know it existed. Because you go on your student homepage, you're a brand new student, you go, oh, what's all this about? So you don't think your profile. You haven't, in the very beginning, when you registered, ticked a box that said, I'm disabled. So the Open University think you're in that big group of students, which is over 80%, that's not disabled.
So a profile isn't like your homepage, or there's sometimes a blog you can get and people are like, oh, I don't know what's happening with my blog, because it can be confusing. And people may have filled in their profiles here and they've maybe added a picture. But this is something different. This is directly related to whether you declare some sort of disability.
Which goes to the Open University.
Right.
So you fill it in, you can get help, you can phone up and someone will help you. I got mine guided through. I phoned Edinburgh because I'm in Scotland, not that out from my accent. I phoned Edinburgh and the lady was very good. She taught me through it, she asked me questions, I gave her answers and she made it up for me. Yeah. And she sent it to me and said, is this what you were meaning? Yeah. Is this the additional needs you need help with? We need to tell the tutor X, Y and Z and different pieces of equipment that you're using, and then she put it on my profile for me. And you don't need to just do it once, you can update it. If unfortunately you become unwell, and it's even for a short time, you put that on a profile. So you might not say you've got additional needs, you might not say you're disabled, but you've broke your arm, and that's your right arm. So in the meantime, temporary, put it on your profile. I am having trouble with X, Y and Z. This will let the tutors know, and that'll help them. They'll realise that, oh, you might need an extra week for a TMA or something like that. So it's not always the fact that you're a disabled student for your profile. It can be any student who uses it.
What about things that can fluctuate, things like maybe depression or anxiety, things that may be triggered after some sort of incident, and things that you might want to say, I don't want to be in a depressed category, but right now I'm really struggling with this and it's having an impact on my ability to sleep and concentrate and study. Is that something that people should phone about?
You should put anything on your profile that affects your study.
Now, why should you do this? What's in it for people who do it?
If you do that, then you get support. Now, you can't get support, the OU can't support you if they don't know about it. Yeah. We're not at a brick university. If you're sitting in front of your tutor and that tutor is looking out and they're looking at somebody going, oh, well, they're normally quite cheery and they're normally this and they're normally next thing, I might have a wee word with them. But you've never ever been to a tutorial, a face-to-face one. You've only ever done online. You don't get that same interaction unless you write something down and tell someone. Right. So it helps.
So this profile, I want to talk about who does it, because I don't want everyone phoning this nice lady in Scotland because it's a little bit misleading. And so basically people would phone their student support team and get referred, wouldn't they? So
it might be a nice gentleman, you never
know.
They
might be in somewhere else. But they phone the student support team who will then be able to assist them with this. And they need to sort of tick the box that says they have a disability and then talk about what that is, and either complete it themselves or someone can help them do it. And then they get this profile well, which is something that can change over time and that their tutor can see and that stays with the student throughout the modules that they study. So it's useful for the tutor to be able to say, OK, I know X, Y or Z, so I might then blah. So I know for me when I'm teaching, if students say they've got anxiety or depression, I might contact them and say, hey, do you want to know what's going to happen at the tutorial before you come? Or I might talk to them about the fact that the venue's accessible, and I'll say, don't worry, there's parking right out the front. So things like that can really help people to sort of say, it's OK, I don't have to sort of feel this anxiety, because sometimes not knowing how far the parking is from the tutorial venue and whether or not there's a lift or whether or not you're going to have this massive long quiz, you know, in the tutorial can really help put your mind at ease.
Even the fact that you as a tutor have contacted them, that can be enough for that person to feel less anxious and just enough for it to go on the bus and come at your tutorial.
Yeah.
So yes, it makes a big difference for myself. I get the information beforehand so that I can use my screen reader, so that I'm not sitting there and saying what is everybody else listening to and what is everybody else doing. So it makes a big difference.
Do you know, I had a student once and they hadn't filled in a profile and I had all the printouts in 12-point fonts and I knew nothing. And she came and she said, oh, I could have really done with this bigger. And if I'd known, I could have done that, but I had no idea and it made it quite difficult. So it's really useful to know those things so that you can raise them in advance. And also, you know, perhaps even get in contact with your tutor and say, hey, these are the sorts of things that could really help me. So maybe not just relying exclusively on that profile, but connecting with your tutor and talking about how you could be enabled to engage with your studies to your full potential.
Before I start each module, once we know who the tutor is, because to begin with, you don't, and sometimes it's a week that it opens before you find out. And that first email that comes in saying, hello, I'm your tutor X, Y and Z, I do send back and I say, now I do have a profile, very, very 3-4 lines, just so that they will then go to it and read it more in depth.
Yeah.
And it makes a big difference. And you feel as if you're engaging with that person.
Yeah.
And they're more friendly than not.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you've mentioned before that you didn't initially consider yourself disabled, but I wanted to talk about some of the experiences that some students might have who do consider themselves disabled, partly from your work with the Disabled Students Group. So what are some of the things you've mentioned before? Hidden disabilities, dyslexia, mental health conditions and physical disabilities. Is there such a thing as an experience as a disabled student, or are there things that are common among certain groups of people that might be worth bearing in mind for some people who are new to the Open University?
The biggest common is anxiety. You don't have to be officially depressed to be anxious, especially freshers and first years. It's brand new. You've opened up that student homepage and you're going, oh my, did I do the right thing? And in the first few weeks, we get a lot of that. Have I done the right thing? Especially students that haven't got the Disability Students Allowance through. You haven't got all the equipment in place, but you're having to start already. And you feel as if all these other people are saying in these chats, I've reached week 3, and I've done this and I've done that, and you're still struggling through your first week. And at the beginning, we get an awful lot of people saying, have I done the right thing? And they just need someone to, you will get there. And just take your time and a little bit at a time and a little bite at a time.
I think most students might feel like that, you know, especially when they're brand new, because you do think, can I really do it? Everyone seems a lot better than me, you know, and have I bitten off more than I can chew? And I've got a TMA, so I'm really anxious about that. So there is that sort of level of anxiety and uncertainty, irrespective. But, you know, students will meet other people. And I guess one of the things that I'm very conscious of, whether somebody has a disability or not, is that a lot of people think I'm the only one who is blah. And, you know, so often I get to tutorials and everyone's so sort of focused on themselves in terms of how anxious they're feeling. They don't realise that actually most other people in the room are feeling anxious. And it's being sociable and kind and helpful that sort of gets you through this. And I guess this is what the DSG group do, is provide this support for students.
We have a lot of students that never get to a tutorial. Even an online tutorial is too hard for them. They want to study and they want experience, but they can't directly engage. But in a very, very safe and tight experience of the DSG because we are a closed group and it's like-minded people. So someone else will go, that happened to me 6 months ago, that happened to me 3 months ago, and they realise they're not alone. They might be studying two separate things. Doesn't matter what you're studying, it's experience that is similar. And that alone helps. If you're insomniac and you're up during the night and there's somebody else just saying, yeah, I'm here as well, you don't feel quite so alone.
Yeah.
And that helps too.
No, it does. It really does. Let's take a trip to the hot desk and see what HJ's up to. Hope he's not sleeping again.
No,
HJ.
I've learnt my lesson on sleeping. Davin's asking whether a cheeseburger counts as a health snack. Even with sesame seeds, I don't think Ben from the sports faculty will agree with that. But he does say the OU are great at supporting people in the way that they support Davin with his additional needs. And we've got lots of people from the DSG joining us in the chat as well. So Colin's on the DSG committee, and I think Megan as well joined us. I might get some names mixed up. But they're just telling us how great the DSG is and how supportive the OU is. And Natalie's just reassured us that the information that we give to the OU is only seen by staff and tutors and used to help us. It's not for anything else. And a lot of people say, Colin said, always good to communicate with your tutor and just let them know. And Joe's actually got a really good question. And Joe says, and this may sound like a joke, and I don't think it's a joke because anything goes in the chat, and it's actually a really good question, but is age relevant to additional needs? I think I understand this because older people, a family member of mine has arthritis being older, and when I started with the OU, I started with the young applicants scheme, so I got additional support there as well, so it goes both ways. But I think that's a great question.
What would you say?
No, age doesn't. I'm a mature student. That's what I'll call myself when you're 60 plus. I'm a mature student. But we have students 18, 19, 20. If a student needs additional help, whether it's short term or long term, age shouldn't make any difference, and it doesn't. And I've never seen a situation that the Open University would. That is why, in what we used to call, we were studying in the air. I was studying the 1990s with the Open University with children, and it was hard then, and we didn't get any help. Now there's a lot of help, but you have to inform people, ask. That's the biggest thing. If you don't ask, then they don't realise you're struggling. No matter whether you've got additional needs or not, you've got to ask.
But this thing about age, I guess it's thinking about the symptoms, I guess, or things that accompany that. So it might be, like HJ was saying, arthritis. There might be conditions that are sort of associated with getting older that one could identify. So when do things, I mean, we asked people at home, do you have additional needs? And this was very interesting, actually, because, again, we've got our don't know category. And this is probably changing at the moment, but we had 33% saying yes, 40% saying no, and 20% saying that they don't know. So, again, that sort of percentage about whether or not people have additional needs is quite high. I mean, how do you decide what counts?
That is very difficult. I didn't realise as much counted as it does. If you do decide to go down the way of getting an assessment, it's fantastic what you find out, the little things that are going to help you. But if I don't know what's there to help me, I don't know. So finding out from another student, because you've got this student supporting students, and a student will say, well, I had that problem, but when I went on to the OU, they adapted and they sent me out large print. And if you ask, it'll happen. Does help. Oh, by the way, you can actually get your code books in a form of Daisy or a form that you can listen to for another student. And they're going, oh, I didn't know that. Now, that might just be enough for them. So it's very difficult because not two people, even with the same problem, say they do have arthritis. One person, it won't affect their studies, but where it's sitting in someone else, it does. So you can't even say, oh, everybody that's got arthritis should get X, Y, and Z. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
And often there's so many things that are happening in relation to each other. It's very rare that you've got one nice, clean-cut condition, like you say, that can be universally applied. OK, so there are various ways that people can get help. The DSG is one of them, and you've mentioned the Disabled Students Allowance and processing with that whole idea of assessment. But briefly, before you tell us about the Disabled Students Group in terms of how to get in touch, what are the other things that people can do to get support as students? Things like societies,
Well,
clubs.
there's lots of societies.
Yeah.
Depending on the particular faculty you're in, sometimes you're inundated with societies. You have to pick and choose because obviously it depends how much time you've got.
Yeah. Let's just pop over to the hot desk.
We've had a great comment when we're talking on support, and Natalie's asking about mentioning Nightline, if you can tell us more about that as well.
Oh, Nightline is
Yeah.
brilliant, especially, like you say, for those
Yeah.
early hours in the morning.
Nightline is brilliant. Any student, you don't have to be a disabled student, any student, and we
Awake
have,
at night.
we've gave the link, and the link, HJ will have the link, we've gave the link, and any student can lift the phone. It's not quite like Samaritans, but it's similar.
Yeah.
And if you have any sort of anxiety, it is students supporting
Yeah.
and doing it voluntary.
Yeah.
So they've been there.
Yeah.
They've understood the anxiety and all the problems. And yeah, they might say, well, I can't deal with that. But see if you do X, Y, and Z and go to the OU or go to whatever, that they'll give you the support, the brilliant during the night.
Yeah.
And all term time they're on.
Brilliant. And HJ's put the link for that in the chat as well. And there are other sort of ways of students supporting students and volunteering, etc., that you can either connect with or even volunteer yourself for.
Yeah, and we also have community meetups, some which are online and some which are direct. We have a lot of chats online, and again, we meet up with students, and then next week we're having a teen talk to do with the Mental Health Awareness Day, and we're having one in Scotland near me, because we have also universities and colleges that are twinned with Open University. So we have buildings within those facilities that we can use. So we've got a room in my local college, and we're meeting up with anybody that wants to come. But then at night, we're also having an online one for the students that can't get out. Whether it is because of a disability, whether it's because of family circumstances. There's lots of reasons why you can't get out and go to these things.
Yeah.
You might be working, so come and join us at night. And it's just to give anyone a tea and talk. Bring your cup of tea, take your biscuit or your cake if you want
Or
one.
your banana.
Or your banana.
And healthy snacks.
Your banana. Get your cosy though. HG maybe has one or two too many, and that's why
Yeah.
he fell asleep.
Yeah.
Get your cosy. Get your laptop or your iPad and come and talk to us. And you'll find that there's somebody out there somewhere.
Brilliant.
But you also have the OU.
Yeah.
There's always student service support, Monday to Saturday.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not on a Sunday.
No. They have to rest on a Sunday, so have their big power nap of the day. OK, so there's lots and lots of different options, and I know that HJ is putting the links as members of the disabled group in the chat. But for people who are watching this on Catch Up who don't see all the chat that's going on, just tell us briefly about the Facebook page and how people can connect with you and find you.
Well,
Not you, but all that nice lady in
I mean,
Edinburgh,
no.
generally speaking.
yes, we have the Open University Students Association. And if you just go to your browser, I'm getting good at these words, browser, and you put in Open University Students Association, I'll take you to their link. And when you go to their link, on their link is a micro link to us. Yeah. And when you click on that, you get our information, and on that it shows you how to join. But it is a closed group.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference to a lot of people, that once they've joined OU, no one knows who they are.
Yeah.
And that in that group, and it's students that are in that group, supporting students in that group. Because some people will declare that they've got a disability even to their family. Some people won't. Their family, even their family and friends might know how much they're struggling. We wouldn't take that out.
Yeah.
So it stays in that closed group.
Excellent. Sheila, thank you for coming along today and for filling us in. And I hope you found that useful at home. And I know there's been a lot of discussion in the chat, so thank you also for all of that. The OU Student Association are coming along tomorrow, so they'll be involved in a couple of sessions and have one on their own. So that's all about societies and ways that you can get involved in those areas as well. But stay tuned for the rest of the programme tonight. We're going to show you a short video break, which is about the Open programme. So we've got a session on science and then maths. And then we're going to be talking about the Open programme and flexibility with Peter Taylor. So we'll see you in a few minutes.